All right, everyone. Hello. Good morning. Well, it's good morning from Perth. It's the 25th of March, 2021. It's going to be a market update, but it won't be 1 minute, unfortunately. I will admit that it won't be. Now, I got a question from a viewer in regards to looking at a couple of dividend stocks. So we've got Macquarie, AGL, and Telstra, and I do appreciate the interaction as well. As you can see, I do my very best to make update videos in regards to feedback and things like that as quick as I can. And what we've got up here, we do have the Macquarie chart on the daily. So what I'll do, honestly, what I do is more technical focus. That's really what I look at first, and then I'll delve into, fundamentals of the company. Now, just from a weekly standpoint, I guess, and the context of market sentiment right now is more in favor of stocks such as this, because we're seeing a great deal of uncertainty in regards to what is happening in the US in regards to inflation fears, the economy returning back to normal, obviously really pressuring inflation higher, which will likely lead to increased interest rates. The fear is sooner rather than later, and it's just causing a great deal of uncertainty in those high growth tech stocks that I actually am involved in the US as well. I've been in them for a little while though. It's for me, I'm holding the high conviction plays. So not to sound like Kathy Wood, but anyway, Macquarie actually, let's go to the monthly chart and really get a good idea. Look at that. Look at that. Now, what I would say is it's obviously really pushing nicely recently. And from my perspective, we go to the daily. We'll zoom out. So, the thing is, we've got earnings coming up 7th of May. Dividends are at 135, which is actually a pretty nice dividend as well. So it was a positive result. Earnings for the September results came out in November, as you can see. So everything seems to be going pretty well for Macquarie. Now, the thing that I've actually researched into is this averaging into a position. So let's say you've got $20,000 to deploy, but you're looking for a favorable average cost of purchase. Right now I would really just say just to wait. If you do want to get in at like 1/4 position, now would be a bad time. Volume's a little low compared to the average volume as well, but it's definitely moved really well. What I would say is just looking at the chart, really maybe a 148 would be fair. I just always like to get in on a day where it's sort of bottoming out at support. Right now it's up against some recent resistance as well. So, but definitely Macquarie does look really attractive actually. AGL, I'll bring up that. I'm just going to sip my water quickly. You see, AGL is interesting. Let's have a look. So just had a look at the earnings there. So they're a little bit down. Weekly time frame. Now, the chart's looking a little bit different than, obviously, Macquarie. Now, with AGL, I just need to have a little look at what. So they did have some pretty good news out recently. I guess it's one of these things really where that a company like this will have some headwinds, and it is quite, I mean, just looking at it on the weekly, it's quite attractive just with the sell-off it's had. And like I said before, I would just go in with a plan, with an amount, and don't just deploy it all at once, is what I would say. But just looking at the monthly chart there, it does offer some pretty good value. It really has sold off quite aggressively. But I guess what you could conclude from that is that we've seen a shift into like the buy now, pay later stocks. But recently things have very much rotated out of that. You can see that with the institutional selling and Afterpay especially. So, yeah, AGL, I would say, you'd want to see what they do exactly in regards to, they've got coal-fired plants and things like that for energy production. And you want to look into what their plans are into green energy, because that's going to be quite key, hydrogen especially. So that's what I would say about that. I mean, another one would be FMG as well, which they do have significant plans, and Andrew Forrest has sort of proven himself to be forward-thinking and has already sort of got some things in place in regards to what he did last year, where he visited 42 countries or so, and really, I guess, made an impression to people that he was there, and he's really pressing for hydrogen because he sees obviously iron ore and really the China expansion. They're really looking to roll into more, I guess, less intensive construction and more technology progression. But look, I mean, AGL does look okay. I guess you'd want to know what happened here. And if there was a bit of uncertainty because it was trading at 27 and we're now down at 10. So there is a significant discount. But, I haven't investigated thoroughly into what is going on. Like if they've got, coal production, and really there's a lot of headaches with that in regards to getting finance, and, there are targets to meet in regards to reductions in carbon and things like that in the Paris Agreement. So it'd be one to look into, but it might be one where if you want to spread your risk out a little bit, I would go more into property. Like there's another one, will I be able to remember it? I won't be. I'm going to have to pause it. Oh no, GOZ. Growth Point Properties, a friend of mine pointed this out. This is an interesting one. Lower priced. This was the COVID reaction, but that's another one that, and it doesn't actually have the dividend payout there. There it is. I mean, it's not as high as AGL, but we're seeing inflation fears. People flood to property in regards to not hyperinflation, but when inflation does get higher, interest rates go higher, we see that people, go to property. That's what's happened historically. So I would say GOZ is maybe one you can go into as well, with also AGL. AGL just looks really attractive with the chart. Now let's have a look at Telstra. Alright, so I don't hold Telstra. I have in the past. Sorry for the background noise as well. It's a lovely day today, so I do have the windows open in the office. Now, Telstra is interesting. It obviously had a nice run, and it was speculated that it was a bit overpriced where it was at. And it obviously had the news out as well recently with their bid to acquire the NBN infrastructure as well. It's a little bit higher right now. I mean, it does pay a dividend. It's a very competitive space, though, telecommunications. And I have had work that I've done with Telstra before, just in customer service, and I would say it's very... No, I probably wouldn't get into it. I have owned Telstra in the past, but it's just something that's Yeah, there are other companies around like Pensionet, ABB. So for a dividend stock, I wouldn't be so keen on Telstra. I mean, will it go up? Yeah, but I mean, there's just so many headaches with a company like this and the NBN. They're buying the NBN. I mean, obviously they get. I guess the positive with that is they, that could attract some institutional investment as well. There was an ABC report on it as well, and it's something that might be attractive. So that's something to think about. I mean, if I had an allocation, like I said, it'd be a small amount there, really. I mean, the potential, Macquarie looks good, AGL. Like I said, you'd want to really delve into the fundamentals on that. And Telstra, there's an allocation there as well. And then you just want to leave these stocks, which is frustrating. Now, disclaimer, this is not, financial advice. I'm not a financial planner, but just looking at charts here and just delving into, I hate to say narrative, but it's more just, I just try and identify the what ifs and, forward looking 5 years or so. I guess if they can get that acquisition and make it work in regards to the other companies that they'll have to put together, I would say that it makes sense with the NBN acquisition. But again, it's something that, do I have high conviction in Telstra? Not so much. But if you are looking for dividends, it makes sense. And, Macquarie's looking like the best of the lot, actually. But that's it. I hope that cleared it up, guys. Also, let's have a little check on FMG as well. It's like I said, it's stabilized a little bit. And then also PRL as the hydrogen play. We're down a little bit. I think I've been talking way too much as well. RAC, I do hold RAC, not a lot. $5,000 worth. Entry was 283, so we're down a little bit. Let's see if 280 holds. This is delayed from. I'm going to get this. Spark. TradingView is delayed. I do pay the 15 a month, but it's still about 15 minutes delayed. Let's have a look at the rises. We've got Bass Oil, we've got NVU, Airtasker down a little bit. That's not Airtasker. FRB is up again. FRB actually has been. Let's have a look. Airtasker. It's still holding. FBR. I think I have mentioned FBR in the. It's interesting. That's why, because I FRB. Yeah, so this one is